Hello, everybody. Baldo LaRussa with the Soul by Baldo team. I'm here with my partner, Joe, and the one, the only Angelo Gionis with Contour. I could wholeheartedly say one of my favorite mortgage people in the world. Unstoppable, just one of the best, does it right every single time. Angelo, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate you and your time.
I really appreciate the kind words. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. We got more coming. Don't worry.
Appreciate it.
We got more coming. So thank you for being here. So we're gonna ask just a few questions, just to, just so everybody gets to know you a little bit, and how great you are in what you do. So this is just us introducing you to all our friends.
I appreciate that.
So can you tell us a little bit about your business and what got you into the line of mortgages?
So that's a really interesting question. So, my parents were immigrants, came from Italy, and my dad came from Greece. So when they kind of came over here, my dad was a painter. So him and his friends, they would go paint, and he was always interested in how he can make stuff more cheaper, more effective, how maybe he can make more money. So one day he opened up a small paint store, but it wasn't really a paint store. It was for all the Greek immigrants to purchase paint in bulk so they could save an extra $3 a gallon or whatever the case may be.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And it really helped out that way. He would paint a lot of the apartments in Queens over the years and in the city, and then eventually opened up a paint, lumber, and hardware store. So I was always around, let's just say, the home improvement market, the real estate market, the contractor market. And my dad on Saturdays and Sundays, he would always just say, hey, wake up early, come to the lumber yard, come to the paint store, and work. Now, we were into wrestling back then, so when we would go there, we'd do a little work, and then we started wrestling on the sheetrock, me and my brother, and all that
Two by fours, absolutely.
We were doing steel cage, lumber matches, and all that stuff. But it really showed me two sides of something. It showed being a business owner, how everybody needs you, or you think they need you, and they're your friends. So we kind of learned that quick. I learned the value of relationships, and I also understood, customers' issues and concerns when they would come back in and say, my contractor bought this stuff, we needed this, we needed that. So really attention to detail was super important. So over the years, we were doing the paint, lumber, and hardware store. And then I met this guy, and he said, hey, Ange, why don't you try to sell your clients on financing? Because a lot of our clients' issues was when they went to the lumber store, they didn't have the money to purchase, let's just say, into a kitchen, a bath, and that stuff. So we started doing internal financing.
Wow.
So I went to my dad and I said, Dad, listen, we have 20 great customers and 20 great clients. Why don't we offer them a line of credit, like net 30, net 60, net 90? So before Home Depot was around, you would come to Angelo Paint and Lumber. You were a good contractor of ours. We would give you net 60, net 90, so you could do more projects and do more stuff. So we solved that for the contractors, and the contractors loved that. Now then part two was the clients, right? The clients wanted to do bathrooms, kitchens, and all that different stuff, but they didn't have all the money up front. Mm-hmm. So then I hooked up with this guy. He owned a mortgage company. And he goes, look, if they don't have the money, introduce them to me, and maybe I could get them $50,000, $20,000, whatever the case may be. And then that's how I kind of got into the mortgage field. So I kind of seen day by day, a home improvement person needed $30,000 for windows, roofing, siding, and bath. You can't do that now, but that's what you could do back then.
Or maybe a bath.
And then we would do the financing and stuff like that. And then, listen, my dad got cancer really bad in his stomach. And my brother and I were 22 and 21. So we were young. We weren't old enough to take over the business. So we actually sold the business. And when we sold the business, because my dad couldn't do it, we were too young to really take the responsibilities of it, we moved over to the mortgage world. Yeah. So that's kind of the way I kind of jumped into that. And it was probably the best thing I ever did. Hindsight, Home Depot came around, so a lot of the mom and pop lumber and hardware stores kind of got liquidated. The store's still around, we still were renters, but I learned the value of revenue stream really young. Because when my dad stopped working, there was no more income. Mm-hmm. So if he didn't own 6, 7, 8 buildings back then, what will we do?
Yeah.
You know, and it was a tribute, and I saw that. And then the last thing I saw was in regards to relationships. And this is probably the most important. You need to value the good relationships, because if I can't offer you something, or you don't see value in me, they're just gonna move to someone else. And that's the hardest part, because we have so many work relationships, but how many of those are friendly relationships? So you really gotta work with people that you value, trust, and like, and you could build together.
So I just want to touch on two things before we move on to another question. First, I didn't know that story of how you actually got in, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing, because you've always been innovative. Anytime something new is happening, or there's a different program, or a creative way to get a deal done, you know, I really do come to you, because I feel like you don't see it like right in front of you, you see above it. You kind of see the front, the sides, and the back of it. So that's why I feel so comfortable coming to you with a lot of hard deals. I'm sorry about that, by the way.
Listen. I love that, but look, and I say this openly, everyone could do the easy deal.
Yeah.
Or everyone could call you up and say, hey, the appraisal came in good, this or that. You need people and relationships where something goes wrong, or if there's an issue, I call you with that same excitement.
Exactly.
Hey, Baldo, listen. The appraisal came in, we need to talk about this. Hey, the client, this came up, we didn't know about it. So what we always say, don't judge me on the good deals. Everybody could do the good deals.
The good deals are easy.
Judge me on the issues, the problems, and how we work it out collectively, because that's really the value of our relationships.
Absolutely. And I'll add one more thing. Also, just the way I've heard you talk about your father before, and I see the way you are with your son and your daughter and your family and your brother. You're such a wonderful family man. You really are. And I admire you for that. And, you know, hearing the way you talk about your father, I've heard you talk about him before. And, you know, I have the same, you know, love and passion for my father, and I hold him at a very high regard as well. So I think that's something we very much have in common. And to add to that, I feel like me and you actually became friends before we started working with each other. There's no question about it. So anything and everything you do, you bring value to, even if it's a conversation. Honestly, even a post. Like there's some posts that I call you just to be like, that was amazing. You know, that really worked. That made a lot of sense. That made me think of things that I wasn't thinking about. You made me, you know, see it from a different angle. So, you know, very grateful for your friendship. And, you know, you are wholeheartedly, he's one of the most loyal human beings in the world. He cares about you, your business, and the way he treats the people that are getting loans from him as well. You know, and I hate doing this to you, but he makes the impossible possible. And don't always come at him with the hard ones. You know, every once in a while he gets an easy one, but you know, don't come at him with all the hard ones.
You said something very important, because I've been blessed that I've seen every type of position, let's just say in the mortgage business. I started as a loan officer. I started as a senior loan officer. I was a manager. I ran an office. I ran a company. I'm senior vice president. So I was able to kind of see every avenue of how things work. And I'm going to relate it to my dad, and then like you'll understand my point on that. We only see what we know, okay?
True.
So me growing up, you know, I played soccer. My brother played soccer. And one of the things, my dad never came to any of the soccer games. He never came to any of the practices. He never came to anything. Now, soccer was my passion, and I'd always say to my mom, and again, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I didn't have that world experience. Why is dad never here? And the one thing you see now, the reason why my dad was never here, because he was working up at 5 a.m. to go to the lumber store, to work till 7 at night, so me, my kids, and my family could have everything we want. I wasn't there to realize that. And when I grew older, I was a little bitter towards the beginning, because all I thought was, my dad doesn't love me, he doesn't want to be there. But then when you're sitting in his shoes, or when then you're working, and you turn around and you see the thing, not only didn't he not love me, he loved us so much, he sacrificed everything. Yeah. And when you see that, like we talk about this a lot, I don't want to let my dad down. Yeah. Okay? If I don't work hard, if I don't try to build on what he did, everything he did for us goes to waste.
Yeah.
So like I always chase more, and I always trace to try to say, hey, is this good enough? Is this good enough? Because number one, I want my dad's approval, honestly, as a kid. But number two is, deep down in my heart, he gave everything to us, and I want to give that same to my kids. So that's why family is really important to me. And look, I love doing networking events. I love kind of doing everything in regards to that. But if I have a moment, I'm going to take it with my kids to kind of set those types of memories. Because the one thing I saw from my dad was when he had the cancer and everything there, people weren't around anymore. They kind of left.
Yeah.
So what you got to say is you got to value, if you have a great relationship, stick to it, build it, grow. If your family is your number one priority, make sure you have enough time for that, and it's going to make you feel better when you go out there and work, and that's really the most important thing.
I think.
And genuine's genuine. You know, you're genuine, and you feel that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that immigrant mentality was simple. If I love my family, I will sacrifice everything for them. So kind of we have very similar when it comes to our fathers. My father, same thing, worked every day. And, you know, this is where family means everything, because he did everything for us, same as you. And I remember my father passed 5 years ago, so I was lucky enough to have him almost into 40.
Right.
So I remember he's basically about a month or so away from passing away. And he pulls me in close and he goes, "You work too hard." And I said, "My God." I said, "My whole life I've been trying to work hard to impress you. You tell me this now at 40. He said, "I can't change. This is who I am now." And he laughed at that because he knew, even now, you know, I love my family. I love my kids. I adore my wife. But I refuse to be lazy because the fear of my father being disappointed. And, you know, and it's just the way we are. And we're built that way.
We're built different.
That's it. And it's okay. You know, it's okay. But like you said, now, you know, we kind of evolved into where we actually enjoy our families a little bit more.
Yeah.
We show them we love them. You know, we spend more time with them, and it's okay. It's all right.
It is okay. And, you know, listen, we both have a mutual friend, Marco.
Yeah.
And one of the things Marco taught me is by putting in systems and procedures, you don't have to work 80 hours in a week to get stuff done. If you could work effectively, then you have more time for your family, you have more time for a lot of stuff.
One of the best lines I've ever heard was from Marco.
Right.
He said to me, "If you want to talk about business," when I first met him, now we're friends.
Yeah.
He said, "If you want to talk about business, that's fine. I can talk about business." I said, "But if you're here to bullshit with me,
Right.
you're taking time away from my family,
Right.
you're taking time away from my business,
Right.
and you're taking time away from my money."
Mhm.
He goes, "So what are you here to do?" I was like, "Damn." I was like, "I don't know. Forget it. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Forget it. I apologize."
And I
But
think why you guys are so successful also is because you can't fake your personality. You can't fake caring. You can't fake doing the extra little steps that people don't do. You know, we follow you guys on social media, just like the way you look at our stuff, and what you see is genuine people out there. And that's why our businesses boom, is because they always want to refer and they always want to give back to you.
absolutely.
And that's a tribute to you guys.
And you.
Thank
and
you. Thank you too.
So let's hit you with another one. Ready?
Sure.
So I meet somebody. They're first-time home buyers. They say, "All right, I'm ready to go out there. I want to go look at houses." I say, "Absolutely not. You have to talk to my friend Angelo first, or you have to talk to a loan officer." When I send somebody to you or somebody comes to you for the first time, what's that conversation usually like?
See, that's a great question because we're talking about someone that's never done this before, right? So we're professionals in the industry. We think some of the things are secondhand knowledge. So the first thing I try to tell my referral partner or my client that you guys referred is any question is a good question. It's not a dumb question. Because if it's important to you or if you have a question about it, we need to answer it. That's number one. But I always say this, and this is kind of funny. First, we got to check your CIA approval. So it's credit, income, assets. People love that. But before we go into that, I like to talk about their goals. Why do they want to buy? What's the reasoning? Is it because they live with their parents and their mom said they have to go? That's not really a good reason.
Yeah.
You know, are they expecting a kid? and they really need the extra space, and this is what they need. They need a better school district, they need this, that. Once we kind of sit that down, and the first time I meet with a client, I want to give them about 30, 35 minutes, where we can kind of talk about everything. And the most important thing we talk about is not just, I want to buy a home. Can we be successful in buying that home? And there's two different things. I could give someone a pre-approval and they buy the house, but they might not be successful because they missed one piece. And this one piece changes everything. It's your lifestyle budget.
Mm-hmm.
So when we sit down with a new set of clients, the first thing we try to ask them is, write down everything you spend money on. Okay, so daycare is a big one that comes up that's not on the 1003.
Sure.
Because as a loan officer, we're just looking off credit. It's not lifestyle. So if you don't have it in a car payment, a credit card, or a mortgage, we don't care about it.
Yeah.
But I care about it.
Yeah, because you're
I'm
still
looking
spending it.
for the referral. And the worst thing we could do is we could have someone purchase a house, and then every month they're negative $1,000, $2,000. How's that going to last? So they sit down with the lifestyle budget, and I say, listen, fill that out at your leisure. Let me know how much you spend on food, entertainment, vacation, gas, daycare. We make a list of everything. Do you go out to the restaurant? Do you shop? Anything and everything. And then they have a number. Then let's just say the pre-approval is another number. Now they can marry both of those, and they say, you want to know what? I could successfully buy this, and maybe I could go a little higher or a little lower. Now, the one thing I did for the realtors is I took away any roadblocks, because they know deep down now they could afford the house.
Yes.
And let's just say if they couldn't afford the house, we say, look, you go out to dinner once a week and it's $150. Can you take 2 of those out a week? Yeah, I can. Now that saved them $300. Okay, I see you go on 3 vacations a year. We put a budget of $12,000, $1,000 a month. Could we knock it down to $6,000 if you really want $1,000? Yes. So now we're finding ways on how to then maximize the house.
That lifestyle budget
Yeah.
that you're saying, it's so important, because what I say is, never buy a house that you can afford. Buy a house that you're comfortable with. Because the difference between a team that's behind you, like a realtor and a mortgage professional, is we're trying to make sure that your life is still comfortable.
Exactly.
My wife is still going to want to go on 1 or 2 vacations a year. My kids are still going to want, 3 pair of Uggs each, or whatever it is that I don't count anymore. So you have to make sure that you can afford your lifestyle, because you can have a house, being house poor.
Right.
We've all heard that saying before. So what you're saying is next level.
Yeah, because it's quality of life. And then we sit down with them, and they have to go through the motions. They have to see a couple houses. They have to bid. Maybe in the beginning they're going to bid a little lower. That's where the education comes in.
Right.
And then we have to sit down with them again and say, listen, you've been at it 3-4 months. You've lost 6 houses. You see how the market is. For every $10,000, it's $60 a month. Is it worth waiting? And we saw over the last 3 years, whoever waited, A, the rates went higher, and then B, the values of the home went higher.
Yep.
So we need to educate people long-term why real estate's such an amazing investment. And
Sure.
we need to just give them those options where they feel comfortable. So when you're showing them, you're not wasting your time and they really want to buy.
One of my favorite things is, like you said, educating the buyer. And I've been doing this long enough to where I've educated a buyer for a property for their residential, and 8 months later, they're like, "Hey, can I afford a secondary income house where I can rent out now and where I can start making money?" And I'm like, "Oh wow, look at you! It happened,
See,
right? You got it. You understood what?
understand
You
that.
understood what happened."
So a lot of times, and this is just culturally wise, let's just take me and my brother. We wanted to buy a house. We didn't pool our money. He wanted a nice house, and I wanted a nice house. So we had double the expenses, even though, quote, we were in the same business and we were working together. My dad and the immigrant culture that came over here, they would pool their money together. They would live in one house. They would build together and they would grow. And openly, the best thing we could talk to our clients about is 2 things. If they're having a kids, invest $10,000 in the stock market, put it away for their college fund, and in 18 years, that's gonna be $100 to $2,000. Put another $10,000 in the NASDAQ, don't touch it till you retire, it's gonna be $2-3 million.
Yeah.
We have to get them that type of information, because a lot of the industry doesn't talk about that.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
number one. And then in terms of rental income, we don't want to work in the real estate field all the time. And the one thing I saw was with my dad. My dad was self-employed. When he stopped working, he didn't have a pension, he didn't have a 401k. So if he didn't have that residual income
Yes.
coming in,
Sustainable
we'd be in
income.
trouble, right? So as realtors and as mortgage professionals, we need to educate ourselves that once we stop, yeah, there's revenue share, yeah, there's this, but let's build on investment properties once a year where you could buy something, get some revenue, so by the time you retire in 20, 30 years, those are all paid off.
You know what's amazing? Because that culture, right? The immigrants who came off the boat, they had it right, and they didn't even know they had it right when they first got here.
And they take the risks
And
too.
it was, not only was it risk, because they all thought it was a game. They were
Right.
here, they were going to play the lotto, they were going to
Sure.
try. And, you know, the reason why was because they couldn't afford
Afford
it.
it, right.
So that was their only means of
Means.
doing it. But you know what? They realized, hey, we just bought this house. We're now landlords.
Right.
Let's buy another one. And then they actually saw that it's attainable. And then all of a sudden, you have residual income coming in. And now, my father always said to me, like on a 6-family, and we would walk by one of his 6 families, and he would say, I have 6 families that wake up every day and go to work to give me money.
Right.
And I'm so grateful to them. And I want to help them as much as I can. But there'll always be 6 families in this building that are going to wake up and go to work for me.
Sure.
And I understood that at a very
Yeah,
early
yeah,
age
because
because it just made sense. Because,
sense.
but they didn't know that. It's crazy because we should be, you know, so above and beyond. They came from an immigrant background where it was pure poverty in Europe, right? And they came here and they built something, but not because they had structure. It was because their means and how
worked really hard.
Yeah, they worked hard.
Yep.
And one thing we do today, which is interesting, a lot of clients put 20, 30% down on a house, okay? And one of the things we like to talk to our clients about is you have equity right away. So one of the things we try to do is if they put at least 20 down, 20% on the house, we try to get them a line of credit up to 95%. We do it for one reason. Sometimes there's an investment opportunity that comes up, and when you first buy a house, you're a little bit cash poor,
Yeah,
right?
definitely are.
But if you have that extra line of credit, and as realtors now, you could go back to your clients and say, if I found you an investment property where you took a little bit of money from the HELOC and it was producing a net positive cash flow, would you be interested in that? Yeah, and guess what? If you're netting 500, 1,000 extra a month, guess what you could do with that money? You could pay down your mortgage right away.
Absolutely.
So it gives them the flexibility of home ownership and really building a portfolio. So that's a nice key, that if you have a client that puts a nice amount of money down, just give them the option that there may be an equity line component attached where they could take some of that money if the investment was right and a cash flow to do something.
And that's what it is. When you talk to the right people, and Angelo's definitely one of the right people, this is how you build wealth.
Right.
You know, it's not always, hey, I'm buying a house. It's, okay, I own a house. I have equity in this house. There's a few opportunities. How do I get these opportunities? You're sitting on your opportunity, you know? So that's why home ownership and being a landlord and being just owning property is such wealth in America, because if you use it properly, you can build wealth. You can build wealth quickly. You know, you want to be in the green. And what you're saying here,
Yeah.
which most other mortgage brokers aren't, it's basically, hey, look, this is what we do for your first-time home buyer. This is what we do.
Yeah.
What you're saying
We're
here.
trying to give strategies where they could kind of utilize it for the rest of the life.
Absolutely, yeah. This isn't just for one.
No.
You're not it's not one road. You're kind of showing options where building wealth is amazing. You know, because at the end of the day, just like your father did, just like my father did, just like your father did. You know, they did it all to build wealth and to better. Have the next generation
Sure.
be better, right? You know, so we're all
Live
working
better.
harder. And, you know, if you do link up with somebody like Angelo, this is where he actually gives you a plan and a vision to make it happen. It's not just a thought. It's a possibility.
And sometimes the answer is you're not ready. So we put in a Moving Towards Success program.
Mm-hmm.
They understand what they need to do, whether it's fix the income, get a little more down payment, earn a little bit more money, But at least we give them a plan and they can build towards something. So that's super important.
Absolutely.
So any consultation is important, even if they don't end in a, hey, we're ready to purchase now. But you know what? I'll be on the road 6 months, a year.
Exactly.
You stay in contact with them, and that's really how you grow your business.
And this is how exactly, and you grow your fortune. That's just how you build a fortune. But that's great, really awesome.
It really is.
Angel. So, what are some of the misconceptions people have about what you do in your industry? What are people expecting?
You know what? Our business and the internet really did this. It became very transactional.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Before it was about relationships and before it was about education. What I'm seeing a lot is when, they go on their apps, they put in a couple buttons. The one thing that comes out of their mouth is, even for realtors, right? What are you going to charge me? What's the percentage to list my house? What's your interest rate?
First question.
So when anyone says that to me right off the bat, I kind of take a step back and I say to them, listen, if you're looking for just the lowest rate out there, I may not be the right person for you.
Yep.
I don't know your situation. I don't know your credit score. I don't know your plan. I don't know how long you want to be in the house. And I hit this client with this one idea, and she didn't understand it at first. But then when we sat down, she was like, that's amazing. If anybody's going to buy a house and leave that house in a year, right? Your question shouldn't be, what is my lowest payment? You know what it should be? What's the highest payment I could afford and the least amount of closing costs? Because if I'm only going to stay there in a year, none of the stuff we're doing applies. So one of the things we always do is we love to have strategy sessions with them. We're not saying we're a dime a dozen because we're not. And we really try to add the value component to it. And if they don't see the value, then it's just like anything else. You go to a restaurant, one place, they serve steak, it's $13.99.
Yeah.
Okay, you go to another place, it's $49.99. You go to another place, it's $150. And it's almost dare to say, when you go to that $150, you dress up a little nicer, you have a little higher expectations.
Right.
So guys, when they do a mortgage or a real estate transaction, it's not about the best price. It's about the best service and who could guide you through it. And we have to educate them on that. So it's difficult. But in the same token, you have to work with all types of clients, and we're not a dime a dozen. Realtors do value, mortgages do value on our end, and when people devalue us, it gets me upset. But in the same token, I'm past the upset part. I really know how to speak to them and communicate with them and really take a step back and say, well, what are you really looking at the transaction? Well, I just want the lowest rate out there. Okay, well, how can I give you the lowest rate out there if I don't have any of your information? No, but what's your best rate?
How can I help you that?
It just keeps going.
It's funny because in our field, same thing. You get people who are looking to list their home, and the first question is, well, what do you charge?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, why are you so worried about what I charge and not the services I give?
Services.
I'm like, would you like to know about what I do compared to what that other realtor is going to charge you and they're going to do? I said, because there's going to be a big difference between what service I give you and what service somebody else is going to give you. So, you like you said, you've been doing this. You've been doing this for 20 plus years, right? So, like, you've definitely seen everything 3 times or 4 times over. But it's one of those things where you can't even get upset anymore.
You can't.
You just have to.
You really have to manage their expectations.
Absolutely.
Okay, and as long as that's done, then the experience goes where it needs to go.
Absolutely.
So, what advice would you give somebody who's about to start with you?
That's amazing.
Right before they call you today and they say, hey, in about 6 months, I'm thinking about getting into a house. What advice would you give that person?
Collect as much information as possible, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Understand why you want to move, okay? And really kind of do the calculations to say, hey, is this something I really want to go into? Because there's so many unexpected costs owning a house.
Yes.
Okay? And that's really the most important thing. When you buy a house and your mortgage payment's $5,000 a month, everyone says, okay, it's $5K. No. Now you have the electric, you have the heat, you have the oil, something
Cable.
cable,
Yeah.
landscaper,
Landscaper,
pool, security. So what I say is, look, come in and have a consultation. That's the one thing about us. I am ready to talk to anybody
Absolutely.
at any time, and I'm going to give them their 20, 30 minutes regardless.
Yeah.
Even if they're just starting out and they're 2 years away, I'm a big believer, if you're in a situation, give 110%.
Absolutely.
Okay, if I'm sitting in front of someone and I know they can't buy right away, you have so many professionals, I won't say the fields, but professionals. Well, so you're not ready right now. Come back to me when your credit score is going.
Yeah.
Have a nice day.
Help them with the
Okay.
credit score, you know?
How did that help your business?
Did it?
Okay?
Did it?
Because I'm going to go somewhere at some time where I'm not ready to buy, where I need to educate myself. So really go with people that really have the value of education.
Mhm.
Let them sit down and talk to you about everything. Give them a roadmap on what they want to do. And when they see it, hear it, and understand it, it makes the process way easier.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
the one thing we have is our time. If we spend that 30 minutes in the beginning, we go over payments, we go over closing costs, we go over rates, we go over everything that's involved, appraisal, title, realtor side, everything. When they leave, they don't have many questions.
Yeah.
And if they don't have many questions, it's an easier process.
Mhm.
And if they do have a question, they know they're very comfortable to give us a call and answer that.
That consultation is so important, and just educating is so important. It's a pipeline.
It's pipeline.
You can't help everybody today.
Correct.
Not everybody's ready today. So, like you said, I've had people that has taken 2 years to be
Years.
ready. But they were ready, and then we found them their house, and they started their life, and they started building wealth. So it's one of those things where the conversation is the most important thing. And don't get me wrong, having a conversation with me is great. I can tell you what's going on in the market. I can tell you how many houses are available. I can tell you where we should be looking. But I can't tell you how much you're going to be comfortable spending and what your monthly payments are. That's why it's so important to have that consultation with Angelo. And I know Angelo works with a lot of magnificent people, which I adore everybody that works around him as well. He surrounds himself with nothing but greatness. He really does. So it's him or anybody that he works with. If you're ever guided towards, anybody from Contour that's with Angelo, you're in great hands. There's no question
And
about
it's
it.
always
Amazing
a team
hands.
approach. I appreciate that, guys. It's really a team approach, just like with what you guys do. And the client experience is everything.
Yeah, it really is. So now here's the last question,
Okay.
Angelo. Here's the good one, and I can answer it for you because I know, but I want to hear from you. So now, what do you think really sets you apart from everyone else?
I care, okay? So in our field, and we're blessed with what we do, because it's not like we sell a bottle of water where you're making 30 cents on every transaction. Every transaction, and it's not about the compensation, but I'm just saying, there's a big value component attached to it.
Absolutely.
Okay, and it's something that they don't do consistently and regularly. They don't go to restaurants. They don't buy homes every week like they go to restaurants and buy shirts and stuff. So we need to give the clients the respect they need.
Absolutely.
And the respect means is sitting down with them, answering every question they have, and really showing that compassion. That's number one. Then number two is you have to be willing to say no to them. And you have to be willing to kind of push back in a way to say, look, I understand it's your decision, but here's 3 options and let's talk about all 3. And I propose all different options to them. I would suggest which one I feel is the best for them. But again, it's up to them. So number 1, it's compassion. Number 2 is communication.
Yep.
And number 3 is putting every option on the table so when they're educated, they really feel comfortable to A, refer you and work with you. And then work ethic and drive.
Yeah.
Everybody in this room works up early. Everyone in this room bleeds, sleeps, dreams about this business. And if a client's going to call you, it's about expectations, and I'll leave it there. If I say, hey, my name's Angelo, what's your name?
Giuseppe.
Giuseppe. And I say, Giuseppe, I work 24/7. You call me anytime, anywhere, I'm always going to answer your phone. So now it's Saturday, 10:30, Giuseppe gives me a call. Pick up the call, I say, hey, Giuseppe, it's Saturday, 10:30.
10:30, yeah.
Yo, can you call me tomorrow, right? He's like,
That's
this guy said 24/7. That's the line where you really have to say, honestly, I need to give my priorities in regards to how I work.
Yep.
And if I just said to Giuseppe, look, I'm available up to 8 o'clock every day. If I have time, text me. You could text me up till 12. And if I'm available, I'm gonna text you back and I'm gonna say, hey, can you talk? So now we reverse that. Giuseppe texts me at 10. I text him back, say, hey, bro, I could talk. Now we set the expectations right. I think as a professional, sometimes we set the expectations so high that we can only fail.
Mhm.
So you have to set realistic expectations and you really wanna over improve those
Yeah.
Right.
expectations.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think those are important. And at the end of the day, we close the loans, right?
Yeah,
So
that's it.
we create the American dream. And I'm not just a loan officer. I'm a financial advisor. I'm an investor. Okay,
Absolutely.
I service debt. I work on so many different areas. When I speak to my client, I'm a concierge, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of different industries in this room right now. If you can't refer your client and they buy in Valley Stream, you can't refer restaurants, you can't refer construction companies, landscapers, photo people, videographers. That's our job. It's to meet so many good people, put them in a queue where if your clients need anything, they're gonna call, yo, Ange, I need tickets. Ange, what about this? Ange, what about that? Why? Because you become more than just a relationship for a transaction to a valued resource.
Absolutely.
So my word is I'm a resource.
And honestly, so this series that we're doing now is I Got a Guy,
Right.
right? So exactly what you're saying, you are one of my resources, right? So I lean on you heavily because of your experience, because you care, because you come from a place of caring, because of your drive. And, there's people out there, you have to respect that we all have families,
Sure.
we want to do this as much as possible. But, sometimes we have to give our time and our attention to our families. So within reasonable, we're always ready to take a call or help.
Yes.
We're always there. Of course, I've gotten calls at 1 o'clock in the morning and, I've answered and my wife's like, are you insane for answering that? And I'm like, I didn't know what it was. It caught me by shock, But, it does show. And working with somebody like you, and we've done a few deals together, and every deal has always ended by closing. They haven't all been the easiest, but you and the people you surround yourself with are truly professional, and I can't see many people who can claim to be better than you in
I
this
appreciate
field. So we appreciate you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate your time, and thank you so much for being a part of this.
No, I appreciate it. Can I say just one last thing?
Absolutely.
I really respect this and the opportunity for us to talk. You guys are amazing, and that's why I love being part of something like this. And openly, I think the one thing is any successful realtor or mortgage professional, they're willing to learn, they're willing to accept when they failed something, and they're willing to listen on how to do it better. I think the best calls, and I want to leave this on this, isn't the ones you won on. It's the ones where it went a little sideways, and you could call that person back and say, hey, what did I do wrong? And how can I fix it? Because that's how you could learn a lot.
Yeah.
And the last thing is a funny thing. You talk to your family a lot. Hey, I'm a mortgage guy. Or, hey, I'm a realtor. And some family members say, oh, I'm never going to use him or he's good. That's honest feedback. Right?
Yeah.
So what I would want to do is go to everybody in my family and say, look, be brutally honest. Why do you think I would be good in this field? But more importantly, what do I need to work on to where you would feel comfortably giving me the business? And if you could take that negative perspective, analyze it without getting upset, it'll make you a better person and a better agent in the long
So
run.
true.
Oh, and just to finish it, there's some people in my family I don't want to work with. Better off not working with them. But thank you again, Angelo.
Yeah,
Thank you for your
Ange.
time, man. You're the
All right,
best.
Sold by Baldo team, amazing. These guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Brother.